maintain that rate.
Right. Well, guys, we got Ryan here from ATS today, and we're just going over their CP3 kit. It's come up on the forums a lot lately. I've been asked a lot of questions about twin CP3s on Facebook, and there's a lot of things that kind of set this kit apart. And I know there's been talk of old brackets breaking when we were doing cast stuff, and we've gotten away from that. Everything now is a stainless, powder-coated, very nice welded product, so you're not going to have the problems with cracking. In fact, the cracking is based off because the old brackets were too rigid, and these brackets tend to have a little bit of give to them. So, you know, when I was installing this kit on my personal truck, you know, I noticed that I can lean on the pump and I could actually flex this a little bit. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think that's something people don't realize you guys have changed in your kits. Getting away from that cast bracket, a lot better product in the end.
Yeah, we've tried to leave a few stickies through the forum so you guys can see that, you know, we have changed the bracketry. We absolutely, if you have the old bracketry, we'll send you a free bracket. We'll absolutely upgrade you to the one that we're doing now because, yeah, it was a little more brittle. You know, there's a certain flex and yield to each metal, and so we're really comfortable where we are now. But we also changed some of the location of it too. It needs to sit a little bit higher, and for us to be able to maintain a better belt wrap and to keep the brackets a little bit more sturdy, we ended up actually bringing the whole kit down a little bit. So actually, it's more of an appealing factory look to it as opposed to having something that's sticking way high,
exactly.
up out of your engine. So.
And that's a good point too, covering the belt wrap issue. I know dealing with other manufactured products from other companies in the past, I've had problems with these belts breaking. I had a kit on my 03 Dodge. Personally went through 8 of these belts, which is very frustrating. I mean, they're $160 a piece to begin with.
And they're tough belts. You really have to abuse them to break these things.
To go through 8 of those things in a year is just not even acceptable. So one thing ATS has done to solve that problem, you'll see this extra pulley in the kit. Other people, other manufacturers are switching out the factory idler pulley to make up the belt diameter. And what ATS is actually doing is they give you another bracket, mounts on the front of the engine on the timing cover, and you get extra. What this does is it sits right below this, about like that, and so it's pulling that belt around more of the pulley. Instead of only contacting about 55% of the pulley surface, we're now contacting about 75%, and that's going to make these belts last a lot longer. So that's a good key feature that kind of sets the ATS kit apart, and in turn it makes it a little bit more expensive, but money well spent if you're not on the side of the road, broke down, fixing a serpentine belt in the rain. So that's a huge feature and a big upgrade that I think goes a long way with this kit.
Fit and finish and drivability is really always going to be the driving force behind anything we make, whether it's in the transmission line or the turbo line. We want you to be able to have something that looks nice in there, but a truck that shifts and runs and accelerates to where you can toss the keys to, you know, your wife or whatever, and she's got an open mug of coffee and she just drive to the grocery store. Is an 800 horsepower truck.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to be strapped in with a helmet to be able to drive every high horsepower truck.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out in this kit, you'll see in this kit there's only one hard line, and this is also very important. You know, a lot of people don't understand that you have engine harmonics, and then you have your fuel pump harmonics. And when you're running all those different harmonics, you know, the engine's vibrating at one speed and variance, and then you've got the pump vibrating at a completely different speed and variance. When you're trying to run all that vibration through a solid line that's hooked to another solid line, that's hooked to another solid line, that's hooked to a solid surface, a lot of times these lines will crack. And that's a problem we ran into with other kits.
Yeah.
And so I like that you guys are going to these stainless braided lines. I mean, these things are flexible. They can take all that vibration. The pump can be vibrating at 1 RPM or whatever you call it.
Sure.
And then the engine could be doing its thing, and all that vibration is going to be taken up in this line. It's not forced into a solid area that's going to fail or crack. So that's pretty cool that you guys are throwing these in there, along with all the fittings to hook everything up.
Sure. I mean, everything's in the kit. You won't have to source anything. Like, we don't just not give you bolts or something like that. But you know, one thing to point out with our hard lines that we actually have running out of these, you're going to have your factory hard line that comes to your factory CP3 and goes into the rail. But what other kits are designed to do is to take that line to a junction box, and then you take your new CP3 and you hit that junction box and then feed into that same port where factory
through the same size factory or
And so what we did is we figured you can only fit so much fluid through. I'm not sure if the camera can check this out. You only fit so much fluid through a little hole like this because we're talking volume. Anytime you get above what volume something can handle, you start building pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can only get so much pressure and volume through these. These pumps can only run so much, and then I'll just dump it out the overflow.
Yep.
And so what we decided to do is we take the sensor out of the rail. We run one hard line to where that sensor used to be. We keep the factory one in place. And then we take that sensor and we actually put it in a junction box further back so you can still know what your rail pressure is.
Exactly.
And so we ended up dual feeding this much thicker, bigger diameter on the inside rail, which ends up making sure that you get just as much fuel into that rail as possible, as much optimization of this pump. And that's a big difference between us and anybody else's, how they're designed right now, anything else in the market.
Absolutely. And then the pulley, it's a good looking pulley. I mean, that wouldn't make me buy the kit, but it is a really nice looking pulley. And they're extremely lightweight. Another huge thing in your guys' kit, and I think this is the number one thing that sets it apart, is ATS is not just splitting the signal for both pumps and sending it into the truck. It's splitting the signal and amplifying that signal, which is huge. I mean, there's a lot that we can get out of these pumps with an electronic reference, and you don't have to modify the pump mechanically and put yourself back in that surge scenario. So
yeah, this harness here actually, we sell probably double the amount of controllers than we actually sell kits.
Yeah,
because we'll get guys that have another manufacturer's kits that does split that signal. Because on these pumps, there's basically what's called an FCA, fuel control actuator. Whenever the fuel's going into it, if you let off the throttle, those actuators shut the amount of fuel that's actually going into the pump to be pumped down the hard lines, and they start returning it off the CP3.
Right.
And so what we do is, instead of splitting the signal, it has dual drivers in there, and so it copies the signal and sends the exact same signal to these pumps as if it was running under factory current. And so they can shut at the right time. You'll find that some other kits out there, if you're really heavy on the skinny pedal, you decide to pull off,
throttle hang.
You get a little throttle hang, or feel like you're getting some nozzle chatter, things like that, because your rail's going to bounce up to huge PSI, because these couldn't close, because your injectors have closed. Because injectors know to close right away.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's going to stop spraying right away. We're not spraying as much volume. It's going to change the timing, and so that fuel has to go somewhere. So if this can't shut down fast enough, you can have injector body damage. It's just bad for drivability too. So diesel is definitely, like I said, the way we've designed this is around drivability, fit and finish, not just get it on there for a low dollar. Sometimes ATS isn't the least expensive item out there.
No, absolutely. But I think people see, with a review of this kit, what you're getting compared to other kits. You're getting a much better controller. You're getting much better bracketry. You're getting a nice pulley. I mean, you're getting the secondary pulley that allows the belt full wrap on the big pulley. That's huge stuff. I mean, you're paying an extra couple $100 to not be left stranded, to not have throttle hang, to not have a rough running, a rough idling truck that doesn't behave well on the street. And that's a huge value. Another big thing about this kit, a lot of these dual CP3 kits will come with a steel replacement section to go around the back of the pump. And the problem with that is they don't fit with aftermarket intake elbows. So anybody that's running like a Banks Big Head or a ATS elbow or an AFE, whatever you got on the truck, it will not work with most other dual CP3 kits. With ATS's twin CP3 kit, you're getting a solid one-piece silicone hose. Less places to leak, for one. Don't have to worry about the hood clearances. Don't have to worry about clearancing with an aftermarket intake elbow, and it's not going to leak. So that's also a huge key feature.
Yeah. One thing I may rewind you on the belt wrap too, which is kind of funny. Whenever we developed this kit, we didn't have the extra idler arm on it when we first started developing it. And if you ever heard a good running Cummins, when you shut it off, it goes, because all the belts kind of stop. You've got some good compression in there. What we ended up finding on this one is that you could hear that little squeal every now and again. We're getting this little belt squeal. What in the world is that coming from? And we actually put basically a high-speed camera on the pulley, and we could see belts jumping the pulleys. And we can see that with other manufacturers' kits because they don't get that good belt wrap on high horsepower applications. Now, when you're just tootling around the freeway at 60 miles an hour, you probably won't notice things like that. But when you're dynoing and really trying to flog the truck,
getting it all.
that's kind of where it separates the two kits and what we do. And like you mentioned with the way we do the tubes and everything in it, one of the nice things with all the ATS lines, particularly with these, because we have to spend a lot more time developing them, is they all do work with emissions equipment. We are not saying that you have to leave it on. You can delete all that stuff. But if you need to put it back on for whatever reason, whether it's warranty or whether it's your state says you can't license your truck if you don't have your EGR back on there or something like that, you're not working backwards when you buy an ATS product. You can absolutely go ahead and put that back on there and still run your upgrades.
Yeah, the 6.7 version of this kit works with the EGR cooler still in place. It works with the EGR crossover tube.
And we just finished the LML for the Chevys, so they'll be out here for ship very shortly. That was a bear because their EGR's the size of like a watermelon. So
yeah, well, you got 2 EGR coolers, and those trucks. That's a huge step in the right direction for guys wanting to do performance stuff with an LML, because the CP4 can only move so much, and we can't modify it. Absolutely. I mean, we've been trying to modify those pumps, and they just don't hold up. So being able to add a CP3 in conjunction with the CP4 with all the emission stuff still in place is just a win-win.
Absolutely.
I mean, anybody that has a Minimax, Black Max, whatever on an LML, you're going to notice that you can't use the higher horsepower tunes because you're going to get a rail pressure code, and truck will go into limp mode. So ATS's twin CP3 kit for the LML is going to be a big advance for that field.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had some tuning done to the LML, and it's still fully emissions, and it really woke that truck up.
Oh yeah.
When we put the other one on there, when what the tunes are asking the truck to do, it could actually do it. It's really neat to see an optimized truck.
Yeah. Well, and adding a twin CP3 kit, like we spoke about briefly at the beginning, this is not a upgrade just for guys running huge injectors or just guys wanting to make gobs of horsepower. This is a upgrade for anybody that's towing a trailer and wants more power without throwing a bunch of programmers on their truck or having to do a bunch of different stuff. You can put this kit on a bone stock truck and you will gain horsepower. And the nice thing about it, it's going to be reliable horsepower.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be hot. It's not going to be super smoky. And if
the pumps run easier, they're only doing half the work.
Yeah,
because there's 2 of them.
Yeah, the engine's literally making more horsepower doing less work.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of a cool thing. Okay, so we pretty much covered this kit. If you guys have any other questions, hit me up. I mean, you can call me on the phone at the office. You can get a hold of me on Facebook. You can get a hold of me on forums. Steve does the Duramax forum. I do the Cummins forum. And any questions for Ryan, you can field them through me or get a hold of him. But great kit, awesome product. Appreciate you coming out, and anything new that comes down the line, we'll let you guys know about it. We'll do another review.
Appreciate you guys having me. Oh, we love you, Ryan.